Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to take a first look at the new Canon 70 to 300 millimeter f4 to 5.6. This is an IS, and this is Mark II of that lens. I've been looking forward to giving this lens a try for a while. It seems like it's taken a little bit longer than anticipated for it to get to market and certainly to get into my hands. But I do have a copy now, and at the same time I reached out to my friends at Tamron, and they sent me to use as a comparison point what I consider to be really probably the best logical competitor to the new Canon lens, and that is Tamron's 70 to 300 millimeter f4 to 5.6. This is their VC USD lens. Over the last probably about 5 years, for those that have been looking for an affordable 70 to 300 lens, this is what I've been pointing them towards. And I used it for several years and really only sold it when I moved to a Canon 70 to 300 L series lens, which is an exceptional lens. But the Tamron actually has offered a lot of bang for the buck along the way. It was the first to have a little bit faster autofocus, a good image stabilizer, but most importantly, it had better image quality than what the Mark I of the Canon lens did. But this new lens is a completely different type of lens in a number of ways. Number one, it's the second of Canon's lenses that I've reviewed that has their new Nano USM technology. Nano USM seems to be somewhat of a hybrid technology between Canon's traditional USM motors and then their STM motors. And so I think that Nano USM definitely is, to me, superior than any STM lens that I've used in that the autofocus is actually incredibly fast. And when I say fast, I mean incredibly fast. In the 18 to 135 millimeter, which was the first USM lens, which was the first with this Nano USM technology that I reviewed, I was blown away by how fast and how silent and how little drama there was in acquiring focus there was with that lens. I was less impressed by it optically, and if you missed my review of that lens, which is being sold as in many cases, a kit lens like with the Canon 80D, you can check out that review here. But for that lens, and now for this lens, Canon has a very different kind of design language. It's kind of a black on black, very sleek. I called the 18 to 135 USM Batman's lens because it just seems to be kind of that stealth black on black kind of look. Now, this lens is similar in the sense that it looks much more modern, much more sleek than what the previous generation lens did. But it's different than the 18 to 135 in that it incorporates on it, it has an LCD screen on it, which is a new thing that displays a few different kinds of information. It can kind of function as the normal distance window. It can show you the focal length. And then it has another mode where it shows you information on how much camera shake is there, which, you've got to kind of debate on the usefulness of that last mode. I'll see how it, plays out in the real world. But, I mean, if you're in a situation, with the camera here, you're not going to be able to really be observing what's going on in the LCD window as far as camera shake. So, anyway, well, we'll see about that. Canon needs something else to throw on there. So there is now a mode button that you can press to cycle through the options for the LCD screen. And it has these new, much sleeker, low-profile buttons like the 18 to 135. One is a switch between autofocus and manual focus. Although all STM and the Nano USM, they all offer full-time manual focus, because in reality, this ring right here, it never actually moves elements. It is the focus ring, but all it does, like STM lenses, is it takes input from here, runs it through the focus motor, in this case, Nano USM motor, and then it moves elements based with the motor. So there's no direct coupling to any kind of physical parts in that sense. So it's what they call focus by wire. Far from being my favorite method of focus, and I find that trying to do any kind of manual focus adjustments with STM or Nano USM lenses is just not hardly worth it. And so anyway, your mileage may vary for that. But anyway, that's my observation. The focus ring, or the zoom ring, I should say itself, is nice and wide, and the focus action is nice and smooth with the lens overall. And I noted that it's better than that on the Tamron lens. The Tamron lens has a few places where there's kind of like a sticking point, and of course that could be somewhat copy specific, but I think I remember my own lens having something a little bit like that, where when you go from about 150 to 300, there's just more drag than there is earlier on, and so you feel that. The other thing that the Tamron doesn't have, and that's any kind of zoom lock, which the new Canon does have, and so that's another thing that's been added, although this new Canon lens doesn't really exhibit any kind of movement towards zoom creep at all. I doubt you're really going to need that all that much, but I do find that sometimes when I'm carrying a lens in a strap, that if it's rubbing against something, sometimes just the friction of your leg hitting it or whatever starts to zoom out the lens. So having that lock is I'd always rather have it than not. Overall, let's just do a quick comparison specifications. As you can see physically, the lenses are very similar in size, and the Canon seems to be, well, there's a difference in thickness of their actual lens caps. If you remove the lens caps, and I've already equalized out, I put a Canon rear cap on both of them. I would say in looking at them that they're almost identical in length. Weight-wise, the Tamron is just a hair heavier overall. It's 1.68 pounds or 765 grams compared to 1.56 or 708 grams for the Canon. So, I mean, both of them, you're going to feel the weight of them, but at the same time, they're not overly heavy either. And overall, lengthwise, you know, the specifications, they list the Tamron as being longer, but when I physically compare them, they're basically the same length overall. And so, anyway, there's the real proof in front of me. Overall, the Canon takes a 67 millimeter front filter thread, which is nice and common. I like that. The Tamron takes a 62 millimeter front filter thread. Less crazy about that because that is not really a common filter size, and it's not going to be one that's shared with many other lenses. I'm going to actually have to do a test myself to determine what the actual magnification ratio of these two lenses, how they compare out. They're listed at both at about 0.25 times, but I also note that some of the material out there doesn't seem to agree in terms of the minimum focus distance, and so I'll take a look at that. I do note also from the specifications that the Canon at 300 millimeters seems to frame a little bit wider than what the Tamron does, so that indicates it may be a little bit short of 300 millimeters, but I'll test that out in the real world and see what I discover with that. They both have 9 rounded aperture blades, and so we'll take a look at the bokeh quality, and so on and so forth. The Canon is clocking in as it comes to market at $549. One thing I will note on that unfortunately is par for the course with any non-L series lens is you have a $550 lens that comes with no lens hood. Meanwhile, we have the Tamron, which is at most, or at least I should say, $100 cheaper and often available for much less than that. And of course, it does come with a lens hood. So that's an unfortunate thing for Canon on that part. As I begin to go into my actual review of the new Canon lens, I would invite any kind of, in the comments down below, if there's anything in particular that you would like me to test while I have the lens. Maybe you can help to shape my review process. I know that this is a lens that a lot of people have been looking at because this is a wonderful focal length, it's a decent price, and so overall, I think you're going to find that autofocus, that this lens is pretty awesome. The optics are where we're really going to see there's some indication that it may not be all that improved over the previous generation. We'll see how it holds up to the Tamron because I know that image quality is important for all of you. Both of these lenses can be used on either full frame or crop sensor bodies. And one other thing that I noted that I was actually kind of surprised by, considering that this is a Nano USM lens, I expected to see compatibility for the new power zoom accessory that debuted with the 18-135 Nano USM lens. I see no contact points for that, and so I don't think that it's compatible with that power zoom, and frankly that's a little bit surprising to me, since this seems to be the second lens in that line, and so far you have an accessory that only works with one lens. And we'll see what future developments have for that. I'm Dustin Abbott. If you look down in the description, you can find an ongoing image gallery. The photos that I take during this review period, I'll continue to add to it there. You can also find linkage if you'd like to do some shopping for it. And of course, social media links, sign up for my newsletter. And if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.